It's the first song off the first Mother Love Bone release. Every journey begins with a single step, and this is where we are beginning our journey today, Thru Fade Away. But before we get going, I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the following people for signing up for the Patreon supporter of the Cause Club: Anthony Sullivan, Ben Pearson, Dave Wheelock, James Neal, and Renee Walker. Thank you very much for your support. And if you would like to find out what that's all about, the link will be in the description. In the intro, you may want to play Jeff's bass line. Do this: 4 E strings, and kind of muted, and then the A string 7th fret. The second thing is 4 E strings, then 5/7 on the E string, up to A5. And then you do the first thing again. And at this very moment is the first time we hear Stone Gossard chime in with this crazy chord. Put your middle finger on A7, your pointer finger on D6, ring finger goes on G7, and your pinky finger goes on B8. This crazy chord, it's the Jimi Hendrix chord. This is E7 sharp 9, and since I said E7 sharp 9, that means it's time for another episode of
What's the Lesson Here? Starring Miss Poopadoo.
Sorry I've been absent so long. Motherhood's really been taking its toll. Anyways, E7 sharp 9 is a very interesting chord. You're looking at the E major scale. E, F sharp, G sharp, whatever comes after G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. Now, E7 sharp 9 features an E note, obviously. The next note is G sharp. That's the major third, followed by D. You notice that it's not in the E major scale. It's the one that would come in between the 6th and the 7th. It's the flat 7th or the dominant 7th. That's what makes it an E7. But it's that last note that makes it super interesting. That last note is a G, also not in the E major scale. In fact, that would be the third from the E minor scale. That's the note that makes E minor and E minor. And since a chord cannot be major and minor at the same time, we can't say it's like E7 minor third. That doesn't make any sense because 7 chords are major chords. So that minor third, G, isn't a minor third. In fact, it's a sharp 9th. When the band kicks in, there's 2 guitar parts. The rhythm section, let's call it, is power chords mostly. E on the A string 7th fret, down 2 frets to D, 2 beats each now, A, G, B, double E, Y, double O, M, B-um. And then we're going to go to an E power chord, followed, of course, by some E7 sharp 9 action. So, E, D, quick, A, G. The second half begins the same. E, D, but now we're going up for A. It's an A shape. Normally on the 2nd fret, we're going to do it on the 14th fret. 2 frets down for G, and then just kind of abandon ship. And that's the rhythm section for the intro once the band kicks in. The lead guitar is on the A string, 5-7-7-5-7, and I'm going to give that last 7 a wiggle. Down to the E string, 5-3-5-3, boom, followed by 5-7-7-5-7-5-7. Wiggling all the way. Line 2 is very similar. Starts exactly the same, but now it's going to be 5-3-5-5-3 and no boom. So, second half is the same. That's line 2. Line 3 begins on the D string now. It's 3 plucks on D7, followed by a hammer on up to 9, and then 3 more plucks on 9. To the A string, 7-7-7-5. it's going to be like the same as the end of lines 1 and 2, but on the D string. That's line 3. And the last line, the fourth line, begins exactly the same as line 3. But this is where it changes. We're going to grab B and G12, and it's going to be 14 as well. 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, bend it. Now, I'll use the pad of my ring finger if I'm just playing the notes straight, but when I'm going to go to bend it, I'm going to use my ring and pinky fingers. Those are the intro lead parts. Don't worry too much about getting them exact. Just kind of do it your way with those notes. The verse is classic rock guitar licks 9002. What you're going to do is your thing plus the A shape on 9, that's an E. Then A string 8, 9 up to your A shape on 7, that's a D. So then your E1 again. Then chicka chick 12th fret. That's a G. That's line 1. The second half is exactly the same up until the very end. So you're going to do your E, D, E, but then it's chicka A up on the 14th fret, G. That's the verse for guitar 1. Guitar 2 is where things get really silly. I'm betting this is stone. You're not gonna do none of those. You're gonna just grab an E7. Now remember, this was E7 sharp 9. E7 is just that much of it, so it's gonna be dunka dunka, dunka dunka, dunka dunka, and then you don't do anything for the end. Now this is crazy because remember, E, G sharp, D. During the E chord, he plays E7. During the D chord, he plays E7. It's got a D in it. And then E7 again during the E chord. Line 2 is the same. Dunka dunka, dunka dunka, dunka dunka. But now, that's awesome. It's going to be E string 7, 9 up to A7, D7. Now that is the tail end of an A power chord. So it's a power chord. It's a root and a fifth. It's just got the fifth low down to the 5th fret. That's how you end that. While the other guy goes. Now the thing that comes in between verse 1 and 2 is just half an intro. So you could do the lead part, or you could play the chords. No one's playing the chords in that recording because that's when a little mini solo comes in. And that mini solo is the E minor pentatonic scale. 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. And you can throw that 14 bendy thing in too if you want. Do whatever you want in E minor pentatonic. After the second verse comes the chorus, and I'll bet you figured out by now that that's also the intro, the whole thing. So play the lead, play the chords, the intro is the chorus, Finkel is Einhorn. Then we get to the breakdown. This is very strange. It's going to be E7 sharp 9 followed by A3, D2, E3. The other guitar just plays E7 during the bow, bow, bow. So do either one you want. And then it gets even weirder. It's going to be C sharp 7 sharp 9. I almost passed out while saying that. Same shape on the 4th fret. That finger's on the 4th fret. That's the root note. That's why I'm calling it a 4th fret chord. Anyways, C sharp 7 sharp 9. E, B, C sharp major. Twice. And then we're into the solo section. At which point, things get even weirder yet. Okay, so you know that 7 sharp 9 shape that you're now so good at? We're going to make that shape on the 9th fret of the E string, but it's no longer, this would not be a C sharp 7 sharp 9 because we're not involving the B string, so the shape looks the same, but the musical shape has changed. This is a different way to play a C sharp 7 chord. It's going to be 9, 8, 9, well, you know the shape. 10, this is root, third, 7, just like the previous chord, but then it's another third there. So this is a fifthless 7 chord anyways. You're going to start a fret lower, slide up and strum away, and then you're going to do precisely the same thing down on the A string, so now it is the aforementioned chord. I keep thinking my guitar's out of tune. I keep checking it. My guitar is in tune. That's that part. And since those chords are so C-sharpy, it's the C-sharp minor pentatonic scale featured in this section of the solo. That's the same shape we just talked about, but the 9th fret. So 9, 12, 9, 11, 9, 11, 9, 11, 9, 12, 9, 12. Do your thing in C-sharp minor pentatonic. Still going, then we come to the bridge. There's 17 parts in this song. It's going to be this thing to start, but you only make it to the B, and then this whole thing's going to be chicka chicka chord, and this is a lot like the verse. So the first one's E7. I think it's E7. If you think it's E7 sharp 9 or you just want to play it because you like the way it sounds, please be my guest. I'm going to play E7. Chicka chicka E7, the D move, back to E7, then the 12th fret. You proceed. E7, D move, E7, then that move. So you can do either that or this, depending on which one you want to do, because they both happen. And the outro. This is the part where the very final guitar solo kicks in. This one's back to E minor pentatonic, so do your thing. And it's similar to other stuff we've done, but it's just with dun 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 duns every time. So dun 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 dun, E or E7. D. Now pay attention. Da 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 A, da 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 G, E. So it sticks the da 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 da's in the A and the G quick. You can also play the A up here. It happens. G. One of the guitars plays E7 twice during the D chord, just like before. But that's the outro. Also, curiously, instead of the last E7 one time, someone plays C, and I can't explain it. So it'll be like G, A, G quick. That happens towards the end as it's fading out, just for fun. Well, if that's not a doozy, I don't know what is. I love it because it's like at the beginning of a band, and you have all this time to think about and make these very complicated arrangements, and that's what we're looking at here from the first track ever, officially, from Mother Love Bone. So thank you so much for being here. It's a band that's very near and dear to my heart, and we're going to continue. If you're one of the 6 people still watching, I'm going to go through that whole EP over the course of the next month or so, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for being here. If you think a playthrough would help your learning process, you're going to see me suffer through it on my Patreon page, so go check that out, and I'll see you next time with more stuff. Goodbye.